There's a window right after a client pays you. Maybe it's 48 hours, maybe a week or so, where buyer's remorse either sets in or it doesn't. And almost all operators have no idea that they're the ones leaving that window open. Every day that your onboarding drags on, the client who was excited is running the math in their head whether they made a mistake or not. And by the time that you finally get them set up, you're already playing catch up on a trust that you didn't even have to lose. And the part that might sting a little bit is that you probably built your entire business around that sale. You obsess over the offer, the pitch, the close, and you celebrate once you get through all of that and the payment actually hits. But then the client disappears into this dead zone. And quite frankly, you probably disappear right along with them, because onboarding is nothing but a pile of Google Docs and some Loom videos that you mean to re-record and maybe a couple half-remembered emails that you send whenever you finally get around to it. I want to show you how to cut that setup time in half using AI the right way without any of it feeling cheap to the client. And more than that, I want to change how you see onboarding entirely, because by the end of this, you might be surprised to learn that the goal isn't to remove yourself from the process completely. It's actually going to be the opposite. If we don't know each other, my name is Justin Glover, and I've been building businesses and teaching direct response marketing for about 17 years, and I learned this the hard way. Early on, I landed a client that I've been chasing for literally months. It was a big deal for me at the time. The payment finally cleared. I did my little victory lap. I closed that laptop, and I felt really good. And then life happened. I got busy, and I let about a week and a half go by before I really got them set up the way that I should have in the first place. When we finally got on that first real call, the person was cold. They were skeptical. They were guarded in a way that I didn't expect, and they hadn't been this way during the sales conversation. And I remember sitting there confused, like, what happened? You were so excited previously. And it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to understand that nothing dramatic happened at all. Nothing actually broke. I just left them alone in that window with their own doubt. And doubt fills a vacuum every single time. I was treating onboarding like an afterthought, when it was actually the first time that a client got to find out whether I'd keep my word or not. So hear me when I say this. The sale is not the finish line. The first 2 weeks after the sale is the finish line. And so let's name what we're actually dealing with here. I call it the onboarding cliff. And it's that stretch of time between the moment a client pays and the moment the real work visibly begins. And on that cliff, one of two things happen. Either the client feels held, they feel like they made a good decision, they feel the machine start to kind of hum around them and things are moving forward, or they feel silence. And silence to a person who just handed you money, that doesn't feel neutral. It feels more like a warning sign. Think about the first day at a new job, all right? Not the interview, not the offer letter, the actual first day. If you were to show up and there's a badge and it's got your name on it and your desk is set up and there's somebody that says, hey, welcome, we've been expecting you, let me show you around. Well, then you're going to relax a little bit and you're going to think, okay, these people have their stuff together. I made the right call here. But look at the other side of it. Let's say that you show up and nobody knows who you are. There's no computer. You sit in a chair for a couple of hours while somebody's running around trying to figure out what to do with you. It's the same job, could be the same salary, but it's a completely different relationship, and it got decided in that first 90 minutes of that first experience. That is the onboarding cliff, and your client is essentially having their first day, and you're the one deciding which version of that they get. Here's where most people in the coaching and consulting industry completely get this wrong, and it's the whole reason that I actually wanted to make this. Almost every AI and automation person out there is going to tell you that the point of automating onboarding is for you to do less. It's to remove yourself, to go hands off. It's to scale without having to touch anyone. And I think that's exactly backwards. And I think it's the thing that makes onboarding feel cheap in the first place. So here's the reframe that I want to give you. Bad onboarding isn't slow because it's thorough. Bad onboarding is slow because it's disorganized. And that friction that your clients feel, the chasing, the, hey, did you get my last email, the resending, the delays without explanation, none of that feels like true caring. You don't feel more cared for by a company that lost your paperwork. The friction is actually the sign that there was no system ever built. And when you strip that friction out, you're not left with a colder experience. What's left over is actually you. It's the actual human moment that the client paid for. So start thinking about onboarding by splitting it into two categories, because this is actually the framework that the whole thing builds on. Two categories are mechanical layer, and then there's the relationship layer. The mechanical layer is simply data collection, all right? It's the scheduling, giving them access to things, setting the expectations, handing them the documents, answering the same 6 questions that you answer every single time. None of this is human. None of it ever was human. When you type a client's name in a welcome template at 11 p.m. at night, then you're not making a solid connection with them. That's literally just data entry, but the relational layer is different. That's the first real strategic conversation. It's the moment that you look at this specific person's specific situation and say, I see exactly where you are, and here's what we're going to do about it. That's the human judgment call about what this client actually needs versus what the last one needed. And that's the thing that they actually paid for. That's the part that is irreplaceable. And so this is the big mistake that I want you to avoid. Most operators spend all their energy on that mechanical layer, and then they got nothing left over for the relational layer. By the time that they get around to the conversations that actually matter, well, then their tank's empty. So AI belongs entirely in that first category. That way you can spend more of yourself in that second category. All right, so let's actually get specific about this because I don't want to stay abstract here. AI can definitely help you with new client onboarding, but it doesn't belong everywhere. You want to start with intake. So instead of a static form that asks everyone the same 20 questions, you can actually build an intelligent intake form that adapts to the client. So if somebody answers that they've never run ads, you don't want to ask them what their current cost per acquisition is. Instead, if they've never run ads, it needs to branch. When your intake does that and it's smart, then the result is the client fills out something that not only feels tailored to them, which already signals attention, but also you end up getting cleaner data in half the fields to read through. And so use AI on that first intake. And then, this is kind of where things start getting good, then you take that intake and you feed it into AI again, and you draft a personalized welcome document. Not a template that's got just their name plugged in where you replaced somebody else's name. An actual first draft welcome that references their specific situation, their specific goals, the words that they used. You want to make it personal to them. And then all you got to do is just review it. You can maybe adjust it a little bit. You add the human touch that only you can add, but you're editing instead of building from a blank page and writing this all from scratch. And that's the difference between a 2-hour task or a 10 or 15 minute one. And it's the same thing with a kickoff sequence. Keep it automated, but personalized off their real inputs. So the emails between you paid and we talk, those steps in between aren't just vague and dead air. You want them to be warm, you want them to be specific. And this is probably the biggest missed opportunity with client onboarding, to make that first impression. And my favorite one is before you ever get on that first call, AI can take everything that the client submitted and it can summarize it into a working brief. So instead of you walking into the conversation cold, shuffling through their intake info while they watch you do it, you're going to walk in already knowing them. You're going to show up as that calm authority that they thought they hired in the first place. And you might be thinking that this is the slippery slope, right? This is how it starts. And the next thing I know that I'm this soulless agency running everybody through the same conveyor belt. And I hear you. So let's address that. AI never touches the first strategic conversation. It never makes a judgment call about what the client uniquely needs. And it never ever does anything that signals to the client that they are one of many people. The second that a client can feel the machine talking to them instead of you, well, you just lost that trust. AI's job is to handle everything up to that conversation so beautifully that when you finally do show up, you're fully present and you're fully prepared. AI's job is to clear the noise. You're still the one in the room. And as I'm talking, if you're feeling a knot in your stomach because you know your onboarding is a little bit of a mess right now and you've been meaning to fix it, maybe you're a little embarrassed about it, I want you to know that that's the most normal thing in the world in this industry. And it doesn't mean that you're bad at business, all right? It means that you built your business around the sale like almost everyone else does. So tell me in the comments if that's you. If you've ever had that sort of stomach drop moment right after a client pays where you realize, okay, now I've got to actually onboard this person and my process is kind of held together with tape. I promise you, if that's you, you're not alone. Most good operators feel it to some degree. And by the way, if you want the actual step-by-step for building all this out, I did put together a free masterclass that walks you through the exact systems that I use to scale client businesses. And a big part of that is the delivery and fulfillment systems. Over the last year or so, we've had a few thousand operators already go through this. It's completely free, and the link is in the description, so feel free to check that out whenever you're done watching this video. But here's the piece that I really need you to get. Speed is quality when it comes to onboarding. Those two things, a lot of people think they're different ends of the seesaw, but they're not. They think making it faster means making it more impersonal, making it more templated. but it's actually the reverse. A client who's fully set up in 48 hours instead of 2 weeks, they don't feel like they got the rushed version. They feel cared for because the anxiety of, did I just make a mistake giving this person money? That never got a chance to actually move into their head. You close the window before doubt could climb through it. Now let me tell you what this looked like for me personally, because I haven't always thought this way. Onboarding used to eat up somewhere around 4 to 5 hours per client, and it would stretch across a week and a half of me feeling vaguely guilty the whole time. Now the mechanical parts are done in a day. And the thing that actually changed is I didn't take that reclaimed time and then just pocket it. I poured it back into the conversation that matters. So now my clients get set up faster and they get more of me. Both things actually went up. And so that's the mechanism that I want to leave you with. I call it clearing the room. All right. Onboarding was always supposed to be a room where you and the client sit down and start the real work, whether it's in person or through Zoom. But over the years, it just kind of filled up with junk. The forms that you forgot to send, the emails that you had to chase, the questions that you had answered for the 100th time, and on and on and on. AI's job isn't to sit across the chair from your client. AI's job is to clear the room, to carry out all that junk so the only two people left in there are you and the person who trusted you with their money. So if you've been thinking about it the wrong way, do yourself a favor and change your thinking. Stop seeing onboarding as a customer service tax that you've got to pay after the sale. It's actually the first delivery of the promise that you sold them. And the goal was to never remove yourself from it. The goal is to remove the friction so that the only thing left is you. If you found this video helpful, check out the links in the description for more and subscribe to this channel if you want more of this kind of thinking. And also tell me in the comments, when a client pays you, what's the first thing that happens in your world right now? Is it a system or is it your stomach dropping? And be honest too. I read these and I'm genuinely curious which side most of you land on. We'll see you in the next video.